take their seats, please? And can we lose the music? Can everybody take their seats? I think we still have some seats left. The only seats reserved are from the front row. Everything else are welcome to take a seat. Well, welcome. We're so happy to have you here. My name is Larry Maggot, and I'm co-founder and CEO of Connect Safely. We're the nonprofit group that is sponsoring Safer Internet Day in the U.S. But before I get into details, I want to talk about the really important stuff first. The hashtag for Safer Internet Day globally is SID, Safer Internet Day, SID 2017, 2017, and SID USA, SID USA. So we have a global part, which is SID 2017, and within the US, SID USA. So if you use both hashtags, we encourage you to take as many pictures as you want, to do as much tweeting, Snapchatting, Facebooking, after schooling, whatever app you like to use to share, that is encouraged. So we'd rather your phones don't ring, that you turn off any ringers, but we're delighted to see your phones in your hand if you're using it to send information to the rest of the world about what we're doing here today. Also, there is a geo filter for Snapchat. I'm told that I don't need to tell you how to use a geo filter, that you'll know how to use it, but I learned that you swipe left and it says Safer Internet Day Philadelphia. So pick the Philadelphia one because that's where we are, and please include that if you do any pictures on Snapchat. Also, outside this room, there's a big step and repeat banner. Do you know what a step and repeat is? If you ever watch the Oscars or any of the big shows, the big award shows, all the celebrities are standing in front of a big banner, and it always has the logos of corporations that sponsor it. Well, we have one of those as well, and it's for you to take pictures in front of to send home. So when you have a break, go out there and take pictures in front of the step and repeat. So today we are here in Philadelphia, but we're not alone. There's actually events taking place in more than 100 countries around the world to celebrate Safer Internet Day, because this is indeed a global event. It started in 2004 in Europe. The European Commission, which is the closest thing to Europe has to a central government, deemed the second Tuesday of February Safer Internet Day. Actually, today is the first Tuesday of February, kind of a little off this year, but this is the day that it's recognized around the world. So this is a big event, and it's happening globally, and we're delighted to have it in Philadelphia. The theme this year is Be the Change, Unite for a Better Internet. And one of the reasons we had it in Philadelphia, and we'll learn more about that later, is a great tradition of this city. But I'm going to save that conversation for later in the day. But just to know that we are not the first generation to be dealing with issues like privacy, like personal responsibility, like freedom of expression, and safety. These issues go way back to the founding fathers of the United States, and we're going to learn a lot more about that later in the program. Safer Internet Day is also more than safety. It's also about empowerment and activism. And one of the things that we love about the internet is how it enables people, young and old, to express themselves, to say what's on their minds. And we encourage that. We love the fact that there is a healthy debate going on around a lot of issues. We want it to be compassionate. We also want it to be respectful. But it's great that young people are engaged and using the internet to make changes. We also want you to know that you're not just here to learn, you're also here to teach. And not necessarily teaching today to the people in the room, but teaching others that you encounter as you leave here. Of course, your fellow students, but also your parents and also your teachers. So on the table out in front is the Educator's Guide to Social Media and the Educator's Guide to Student Data Privacy. So you might want to take a copy of that, or if there are no copies left, you can go to ConnectSafely.org and you can download one or read one online and share that with your teachers, because we want your teachers to know how great social media is and how great some of the connected apps are, and we know that they can learn a lot from you. And speaking of learning, in your bag, later today you're going to get a little goodie bag, and you definitely want to get that bag because there's some very cool stuff in it. But one of the things in the bag is a brochure about Connect Safely. And we want you to share that with your parents. And the reason why you want to is because if they go to ConnectSafely.org, what they're going to learn is that the social media and connected technology is phenomenal for young people. And rather than telling parents to keep their kids off of social media, Connect Safely encourages parents to allow their kids to use social media, of course, making sure they understand how to do it safely and responsibly and respectfully. So this is the one internet safety organization whose information you want to share with your parents because we're all about encouraging parents to work with children so that they can use social media productively, safely, but mostly having a productive time and a good time with it. I want to make sure we thank all of the companies that have made today possible, without whose support we never could have been here. And they include Microsoft, LifeLock, who along with the National PTA is responsible for the Smart Talk, and you'll hear more about that later, Facebook, Google, Comcast, Trend Micro, Ask FM, Snapchat, and Twitter. So I want to say thank you to all these companies for helping support this day. So that's all for me. You'll hear from me later. But it's now my great honor to introduce our first speaker, who many of you, if you don't know him, you certainly know about his work, because he's the guy who is responsible for operating the school district that many of you come from. How many here are from Philadelphia schools? Yeah, a lot of you. Well, there's a lot of important people in terms of what makes every school district important, including Philadelphia. I think the most important group are you, the students. But another very important group, of course, are the teachers. And another very important group are the administrators, the principals and the staff that make the school run. The groundskeepers, the folks that keep it clean, they're all essential to today's education system. And one of the things that excite me about Dr. William Haidt, the superintendent of the Philadelphia School District that you're going to hear from, is he has had a lot of roles. He's now in charge. He's now the superintendent, but he also had years as a teacher, as a principal, as an administrator, and he's also been a superintendent of a district in Philadelphia. But the thing I like most about him, when I read his bio, is rather than start off with all his great accomplishments, he started off with his goals. And his goal is to make every school in Philadelphia, in every neighborhood, a great school. And I can't think of a better goal than that, to have great schools in every part of this city. So it's my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Haidt.
Thank you, Larry, and good morning. Boys and girls, good morning. Students, good morning. All right, that's more like it. And so before we get started, I want to wake people up, actually. So and I know we have some young people here today from multiple schools, and I know we have, and I want to welcome you to Philadelphia, the students who are not here in Philadelphia. First of all, the students or the schools from Salisbury, Pennsylvania. Are you here this morning? All right. Penwood High School from Lansdowne, are you here? The Community College of Morris, New Jersey. Is Community College here? Great. William Tennant High School in Centennial, PA. And then we have some schools, and I'll just name all of these at once because they're all here in Philadelphia. Potter Thomas, Constitution High School, Science Leadership Academy, SLA, The Link High School, and LeBrum. Are you all here? All right. That's great. It gives me great pleasure to welcome everyone here to Philadelphia. As a part of the annual Safe Internet Day, I would especially like to say hello to everyone who is watching this event streaming across the country and around the world. I want to give special thanks to Larry and Patty Maggot. Thank you for bringing this to Philadelphia. And Larry, who is the CEO of ConnectSafely, you just heard from. Laura Bay, we've had some years together because one of my responsibilities when I was in a different district was to represent all superintendents on the national PTA board, and I had the opportunity to work with this individual in that capacity. Laura Bay, President, National PTA. Laura, great to see you again as well. The National Constitution Center and CEO Jeffrey Rosen. Let's thank Jeffrey and the National Constitution Center for hosting this event. And here's the most important group other than all of you, the students, the corporate supporters of Safer Internet Day US. Microsoft, LifeLock, Facebook, and Google, Comcast, Trend Micro, the Smart Talk, Penwood High School. Let's acknowledge all of the supporters, the corporate supporters. And then finally, and most importantly, all our parents, students, and educators who are here with us today, thank you for being here with us as well. So I want to spend, first and foremost, welcome to Philadelphia. We're very excited to be hosting this event this year, and I'm equally excited to provide a few comments to welcome you this morning. And I think about our work. And I think about our work as educators. I think about all of you, the students, who give me ideas about how we educate or how we should be educating our young people all the time. And I have one student who is very important to me, and I have 206,000 students who are really important to me in the school district of Philadelphia. But one student who's not yet a student who's really important to me, and that's my grandson, Jace. And Jace just turned 5. And he calls me G-Pa. But Jace is this young man who he exposes himself to information in a very different way. And you heard Larry describe my background. I used to be a principal at the middle school level, a principal at the high school level. I taught middle school and high school. And much of what my grandson does now with technology, I would not allow when I was a principal. Just think about that for a second. So this was some years ago. But much of what he does right now on technology, I would not allow. And ever since I gave him my old iPad, because I bought a new one, and naturally I thought, hey, this could be a good Christmas gift for my grandson. At the time, he was 1. So gave him my iPad, and my daughter was like, first of all, she was annoyed that I didn't give it to her, that I gave it to him. And then she said, Dad, he's too young for that. I mean, why would you do that? And I said, well, just give him a minute. And he will begin to interact with it in a very different way. And so 2 months later, she is sending me video of him swiping it open, learning the password, getting into information. And so now he's evolved. And he's evolved to listening to a conversation, hearing a word that is interesting to him, and then researching that word on his technology. And if, in fact, he hears a word, and he was starting to do this when he was 3. And I thought, man, my grandson is really talented and gifted. And my daughter was like, well, he's using Siri. And he hears the word, he asks Siri to look it up. Siri looks it up, and then he kind of scrolls through, finds what he wants, and then uses that information to inform something that he's interested in. And I think about that more broadly in how we operate and work in schools. And I think about what I hear from students that I talk to all the time. And I think about us as educators, and as we talk to our young people. And one of the things that I learned a long time ago is, and Jace, my grandson, is really showing why this is so critically important, is if information is free, if information is democratized, if information is ubiquitous, if information is available, then what is our value add if all we are doing is providing more information? Instead, why not provide context to that information and provide children with the opportunity to explore based on that context? And so instead of me telling Jace what I think is a good toy, he researches toys and tells G-Paw the toy he wants, right? Like his bat copter, right? So, and then I had to ask him, what is a bat copter? And then he had to show me online what a bat copter is and what it does and all of these things. But one of the things that I think is critically important is the fact that as we educate young people and as we talk with young people, one of the reasons why the Safer Internet Day is so critically important is because what we have with the internet is something to value. And what we value, or what we should value, are our values, how we treat each other. How do we think about that? How do we use the information that is available to our young people? And so just as I've learned with Jace, we can't turn off the internet. And much of it is not something that we can control. But what we can control is what we value. And if we value access to information, and if we value all of you as young people finding out about these things kind of on your own terms, with a set of parameters, then the internet becomes an extremely important tool for us. And so now, more than ever, we should be true citizens. And what does that mean? That means active and engaged across the country and the local communities. But most importantly, we need to be true digital citizens in our schools. And how many of you come from schools that don't allow you to walk around with your own phone? That's what I thought. And we're still, and I was hoping I wouldn't see any Philadelphia hands go up, but I just did. And one of the things that I think is extremely important is that if we're thinking about that work and the internet as access to information that is critically important to you, then we have to think about how do we allow you to engage in that, with that information as a learner. And how do you do that in schools? Because as my grandson has demonstrated, it becomes natural and to him. And it becomes natural. It's natural to all of you. And then in schools, I think, and I truly believe, we put ourselves at a disadvantage if we take access to that learning tool away. And so youth participation in Safer Internet Day is imperative because young people are our key stakeholders in any discussion about online safety, and all stakeholders need a seat at the table. And one of the things that you heard earlier was one thing that's critically important is your voice in how we do this. And just as I do with my student advisory on a regular basis, helping us, the adults, the educators, understand the best ways in which to do that. How do we make information available for you? How can we make your learning experiences more engaging? So I'm proud of what we've accomplished here in Philadelphia. I'll share a few of the steps we've taken here in order to educate our students on how to safely engage in the internet. First and foremost, we teach internet safety and digital citizenship from kindergarten through high school. Additionally, we engage teachers to help identify safe and high-quality online tools. And more importantly, we engage our young people to identify safe and high-quality online tools, our students. We partner with organizations like Common Sense Media and today with ConnectSafely.org to help educate our students and adults about safe internet practices. Our goal is simple. And our goal is for students to own their online presence. And young people, we want you to own that. And that is something that's really important. And think before you post something. We teach students to own their digital footprint, protect your digital material. Once it's posted, it's out there and free and available to everyone. Care about your reputation. And we don't want our young people to do something now that will put them in peril later in life. Think how to present yourselves online. Most importantly, and this is really important for all of the young people, particularly given the dynamics that surround us in the current political environment, be kind, be nice, especially when you're online, and expect respectful treatment. And if you have that expectation, then all others will follow. So once again, it's been a thrill to spend a few minutes with you this morning. I welcome you to Philadelphia. Enjoy this opportunity. And to all of the young people in the room, take advantage of this because you're looking around, you see representatives, you're the representatives from your particular schools, so take advantage of that opportunity. Thank you. Enjoy your day. Good morning.
You kids are very fortunate to live in Philadelphia. He is amazing, and I love the fact that you have a superintendent who is very open to making technology accessible to students and allowing students to incorporate their technology as part of their learning. Our next speaker is a very good friend of mine. I've actually known him for 15 years, even though he doesn't look 15 years old, as a matter of fact. So it's now my great pleasure to introduce Clicky.
Hi everyone, I'm Clicky, the NetSmart's Internet Safety Rapid Robot. I am pumped to be here for Safer Internet Day 2017 in historic Philadelphia in the Aegean region of Turkey. Though I hear nowadays you're calling the city Al-Ashir.
Clicky, we're in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Whoops! Looks like I've been talking about the wrong Philadelphia. Go Flyers! That's what I get for not triple checking my information online. I, of all robots, should know better. Today, Safer Internet Day is being celebrated all around the world, including Turkey. It's about increasing public awareness that a safe and civil internet depends on all of us, and all of you. That's why you're here today, because youth participation in Safer Internet Day is imperative. Change begins with young people like you, and the future of a safer, more civil internet lies in your hands. Today, on February 7th, 2017, we unite for a better internet. Now, let's kick it off with some serious energy. On the count of 3, I want you to yell as loud as you can, "Be the change!" Are you ready? 1, 2, 3! Wow! That was awesome! Happy Safer Internet Day, everyone, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Clicky. How many of you have younger brothers and sisters? Yeah. Well, Clicky is part of NetSmart's program, and they have great programs for young children all the way from kindergarten, beyond, and before. But they also have NetSmart's Teens, which I want you all to check out as well. So it's a great program. We're very proud to be a partner with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children's NetSmart's program. And speaking of great partners, we have a lot of great partners that helped us put together Safer Internet Day. But one of the partners that I'm really happy to introduce today is the National PTA. They are the ones that are going to be running the program that the elementary school kids are going to. They've been really instrumental in helping us pull all of this together. And we are so honored to have their national president. She came all the way from the state of Washington on the West Coast. She's president of the entire PTA for the entire country, a great educational leader. Laura Bay has herself been an educator for more than 15 years. She currently works in a school district in Washington State, but also spends much of her time traveling around the country, spreading the great programs of the National PTA, including the Smart Talk, which she's going to talk to you about, and we're going to hear a lot more about later. So it's my pleasure to introduce Laura Bay.
Well, good morning, everyone. How are you? And the theme with Clicky was what? 1, 2, 3. Be the change, right? So that's what we're here today about, right? I'm so excited to be here in Philadelphia with each and every one of you at Safer Internet Day. Thank you, Connect Safely, for this important event and for hosting. I love that we are all together taking the time to have some open discussions later today about how each of you can contribute to making the internet a more positive place. On an average day, as National PTA President, I'm speaking to parents, to educators, and to students, the youth, about how we all work together to make sure that each one of you get the best education that you can so that you can follow your dreams as you leave high school. So very important to many of you. I feel right at home spending the day with passionate parents and educators, and each of you as youth, our future leaders. The amazing talent that each and every one of you possess is what helps make my commitment to making sure that all kids' potential in America becomes a reality, which is what we believe at National PTA. Now, raise your hand if any of you in the room have ever played what we call, in my classroom, the telephone game. Have any of you done that? Okay. So if you haven't done that, and I've used this in my classroom when we talk about what? Communication and sharing your message. So this is how it goes. Basically, we all gather in some type of circle in the classroom. What we do then is the first person creates a message. Not a really short, dinky message, right? But something that's got some substance, a story to it. And you whisper that first message to the person next to you. And then it goes to the next person, and the next person, and the next person, right? And so then as it goes around to the last person, what happens? Yep, it's totally different. You're right. And it's like, wow, how did that happen, right? So this is what you do when you pass on messages, because words change as they go from person to person to person. The same thing happens on the internet. Whether it's through email, through text, whether you're Snapchatting and sharing that, those messages change. That's what we're here to talk about today. It's fun to play with those words when you're playing a game, but in real life, when those messages get turned, twisted, or misinterpreted, people's feelings get hurt. Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg, he said that just a few generations ago, people didn't have a way to share their information and express their opinions efficiently to a large group of people. But now you do that every day with social media, with online games, with other tools on the internet. We all have a way to say what we're thinking instantly and have our voices heard. That's a really, really wonderful thing. But you always want to make sure that your messages are received in the way that you and each one of us initially intended them to be. Having this access to the worldwide communication and a bounty of information at your fingertips is really great. But sometimes it comes with risks and occasional pitfalls. And of course, who worries about how those messages go in and out? You do, but also your parents. They worry about that, and they wonder if sometimes too much information, too much of the dangers of the digital world is out there, and then how collectively you as a family can control that. Well, part of us worry about that as adults because the first thing, and Dr. Haidt said it, we, my age, our educators, our teachers, didn't have the same technology at our fingertips, right? You guys are the ones who really know how to use that. So you tell the story better than us. So we asked, as parents and educators, to think about, just like you do when you were a small child and you looked both ways with your parents nagging you about crossing the street or in the parking lot, or they reminded you that when you came to events that you needed good manners, that you needed to be safe and responsible. And that's true in the digital world. That's why we're all here today, to recruit each one of you as youth as digital ambassadors who will change for a better internet world. Together we can make a difference to make our messages and that digital telephone game much better. So I'm here with LifeLock and the Smart Talk. The Smart Talk is an online tool that's really designed to help families and each one of you create a better opportunity for discussion about how to use smartphones and digital devices to help you maybe set the ground rules. The Smart Talk guides parents and each of you as youth through a series of interactive questions with their children. The goal with Smart Talk is to offer an open dialogue between you and your parents about online behavior. You do this by answering online questions, those guiding questions, to help you explore 5 key areas that may not normally come up in everyday conversation. First, you talk about online safety and privacy. Then, of course, the screen time, right? How much time are you spending on it? Then, what do you do with apps and downloads? The 4th thing that it covers is texting and calling. The 5th is about social media and respect. Dr. Hyde talked about that. After you've answered all of these questions, families then receive a personalized agreement that everyone can sign and refer to, so no one, like you as a parent or you as a youth, forgets the ground rules. So I ask all of you to go and check the smarttalk.org to start the conversation in your homes. It will help your family get on the same page about why digital safety and the citizenship is important. Remember, being united in how we will change the internet and how we react and interact with people and represent ourselves as digital citizens is the goal of what we're doing here today. I want to thank each and every one of you for having me here today. I'm so honored to be here in Philadelphia. I look forward to talking to each of you. I've already talked to about 4 or 5 of you. You as youth are our future. You as youth are where we're going. You as youth are the most important people in this world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laura Bay, and thank you to the PTA for all you do. And speaking of thanks, I want to make sure right now, before I forget, that I acknowledge the Connect Safely staff who did an amazing job or are in the process of doing an amazing job to make sure that Safer Internet USA comes off as beautifully as it possibly can. First, Hani Khan, our outreach manager. You may see her running around. She's really doing a lot of the nitty-gritty coordinating work that needs to be done today, as well as handling the tweets and the Snapchats and the Facebook posts and all that other important stuff. Carrie Gallagher is our Director of K-12 Education. She's going to be running the program. You're going to get a chance to meet with her. You'll see her a lot later today, but she's done a great job in helping prepare today's event as well. And most of all, I have to thank Maureen Kochan, who's our Chief Operating Officer. She is the one who, as they say, makes the trains run on time. She's done just a fantastic job getting everything organized. It's a very, very stressful job. If you see her and you see her chewing her fingernails, I wouldn't be blaming her because there's a lot of moving parts. So thank you, Maureen, Hani, Carrie, and also Patty Regier, who's been helping out as well today. Thank you so much for everybody making this happen. So we're going to have a kind of a little mini panel now, and Laura talked about the Smart Talk, and that's one of many ways in which we can educate ourselves, and kids can educate their parents, and parents can educate their kids, and we can educate each other. We're going to hear about another one also, as well as getting more information from the Smart Talk. So we're going to have 2 speakers come up. Our first speaker is going to be Joe Gervais, and he's the Security Communication Director of LifeLock, which is a security company. You may have heard their advertisements, helps protect against identity theft. And we're also going to be joined by Jacqueline Boucher, who's the Chief Online Safety Officer of Microsoft Corporation. And they also have a really great program that helps people learn and commit themselves to making the internet a better and safer place. So, Joe, I think we're starting with a video, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? Okay, let's do the video.
You wouldn't send your child into the street without telling him to look both ways, right? Well, it's the same deal with devices like these. Before you hand over that smartphone, tablet, or laptop, your child needs some ground rules. And that's where the Smart Talk comes in. The Smart Talk brings parents and kids together to have a clear conversation about all their devices. This is an agreement that gets the entire family on the same page for what is and isn't allowed. If you're having a hard time deciding if your kids are old enough or mature enough for a device, the Smart Talk can help you there too. A key part of this tool is a quick guide that will help you make that decision. Go to thesmarttalk.org to check it out. Once you've done that, stay on the site, grab the kids, and get started on your contract. This part of the process will help you set rules for social media, the types of apps your kid can download, texting, and so much more. Remember, this is a collaboration between you and your child. Before you start your agreement, make sure your device is hooked up to a printer, because when you're finished, you'll want to print it out and post it on your fridge. Between the Smart Talk and the PTA's digital safety tips, you and your child can make smarter and safer decisions when it comes to connecting to the digital world and the real world.
Hey everybody, thanks for being here. And I have very long, painful memories about sitting where you are right now. So thank you again for being here. Something about the smarttalk.org that we just take a look at. What I would really like all of you to do here, the theme is that you are sort of those champions going out. You're going to have the information. Forget about the part where, parents have the talk with the kids. You have the talk with your parents. There's a lot of churn about, kids these days, they don't care about privacy. Actually, when you look at the surveys, your generation has a more careful sense of privacy than my generation does. You've grown up in this age of the internet that we never knew. Nerds like me, we helped build the internet, but we also had a sense of privacy. Your generation is the first one to grow up where this is not meant to sound doom and gloom, it's just how we operate these days. You don't have that sense of privacy that anybody before your generation once knew. And let me give you an example, and then you'll have a little more context about how, when you go home, run your parents through this and have your parents sign a contract with you about how they might behave online. So, most of you have this, or you have access to something similar, right? It's late at night, everybody's asleep. You and your bestie, you're texting back and forth, you're sending selfies. Is that private? I'm hearing yes and I'm hearing no. The real answer is it's not actually private in anything that we've ever known before, and here is why. You're in your own bedroom. They're in their own space as well. Maybe you're in a quiet spot somewhere off in a corner in a library or a park. Here's the problem. Whatever you texted, whatever you sent, it went over a network. It's still on your phone. It was stored on a computer between your phone and their phone. Anything you might try to delete after that, maybe it wasn't deleted. There was an online storage service that you probably have heard of, and this last week, they accidentally started serving up files that had been deleted by people 3, 4, 5 years ago, and people were going, what the heck is this? So not only was that data still being stored on a computer somewhere that people tried to get rid of, it was made available to the internet again. So the takeaway for everybody here, look out for each other, because there are plenty of people that still think that because it's my phone and it's your phone, that it's private, that it's safe. If I send a picture and it's only supposed to last a little while, that was a private photo, it went away forever, right? Anybody ever take a screenshot with your camera? How long does that last? Forever. There's no such thing as temporary on the internet. And when we talk about reputation, when we talk about safety, when we talk about anything that might happen down the road, these devices, here we are in Philadelphia, right? Ironic and extra appropriate, I suppose, all the freedoms that were discussed here, everything we laid out as a nation. Think of everything you put in here, your personal records, your personal photos, your personal everything. Anybody have a Touch ID or heard about Touch ID? Fingerprint to unlock, right? Pretty cool, pretty secure. Did you know that right now, as of this week, if a police officer asks you to, you have to unlock your phone with your fingerprint. You have no right to say no currently. If it's a passcode, you don't have to unlock your phone necessarily. So this is where privacy becomes a real issue. What if you were stopped at random and everything on your phone right now, sitting here right now in this room, or maybe not you, but maybe you know some friends, everything on their phone right now is something that is right there to be used for them or against them. What do you want to put online? What do you want to have on your phone? Think those issues through, and then think about how you can share that information with your friends, with your family, with your parents, because again, my generation and my parents' generation, we're the worst ones at this, not you. You've grown up knowing it. If I answered a room full of 30 and 40-year-olds, is that text message private? Probably everybody would have said yes. I already heard no's in the audience. That is one more indicator that your generation is the one that's ahead and that can lead the way in this. So please, keep all that in mind. And in the meantime, it's an amazing time to grow up. Technology is incredible. Please enjoy it and help us make it safe.
Jacqueline, are you in the wings? You're here. There she is. Okay. There you go. Okay, I mentioned before Jacqueline Boucher. She's the Chief Online Safety Officer at Microsoft, and I'm sure you've all heard of Microsoft. Yep. One of the great companies in the technology world.
Thanks. Good morning. Thank you so much for being here and for having me here today. We have a long-standing program around online safety and internet safety at Microsoft. And I'd just like to take you through two things that we're going to be offering today for Safer Internet Day 2017. Let's hope I'm going the right direction. Yeah, but let's first start off by saying Happy Safer Internet Day 2017. Microsoft has been a part of Safer Internet Day since 2004 when it was first pulled together. And we are going to continue to be a part of it going forward. So today's no different. As I said, we've got two initiatives that I want to tell you about specifically for Safer Internet Day. And the first involves what we've been hearing so much about this morning, and I'm so happy to hear that from all of the speakers, they've mentioned a key word: respect, kindness, all of those key things. And what we're doing today as Microsoft is we are launching our Digital Civility Challenge. We're calling on people to be kinder, more respectful, more embracing of others online. And we have 4 basic tenets that we're hoping that people will live by. The first one, live the golden rule. How many know what that means? And how many think we should get behind that as an internet community and treat each other online with more respect, offering dignity? Excellent. Thank you for so many hands going up. Also, we want people to respect differences. We want people to think about cultural differences, differences in perspective and thought, and appreciate that. And before you see something online that makes you a little bit upset, makes you a little bit angry, take a pause before replying, and reply in a thoughtful and considered way. And then finally, something that we've been saying in the anti-bullying context for a very long time. Let's make sure that we're standing up for each other online. Let's help each other be upstanders instead of bystanders. So let's just take a quick look at each of these precepts or each of these ideals in turn so that we really know what we're talking about. When we talk about the golden rule, we said empathy, compassion, kindness. Let's make sure we're leading with those qualities when we engage with each other online in every online interaction. And with our challenge, we're asking you, do this for one day, commit to it for one day, commit to it for 2 days, a week, a month, and then before you know it, it's going to be Safer Internet Day 2018, and we'll all be in a better place than we were this year. The next one, again, appreciating those differences, cultural differences, differences in perspective, differences in thought. Let's make sure that we're hearing both sides of all angles. Again, taking that pause before replying, making sure that we're thinking about what we want to say carefully. It sounds very simple, but it's sometimes not hard to do. That's why we need a little reminder. And finally, again, being those upstanders, being those people that are going to step in for someone else if it's safe to do so in an online dialogue, and make sure that you're standing up for yourself as well. One other thing, I said I had 2 initiatives that I wanted to tell you about. This one we launched just a matter of weeks ago. We are going to invite between 12 to 15 youth from across the U.S. to our Microsoft campus in August to have what we're calling and to create our Council for Digital Good. We want to have conversations with you. We think the youth voice is so important. So we're going to select 12 to 15 youth between the ages of 13 and 17. How many people do we have in that age group today? Do you think you might be interested in applying? There's a little card outside at our Microsoft booth, and you can grab it. there's no wrong answers. It's a matter of bringing you all together to hear your voice, to talk about digital civility, to talk about digital citizenship, because there are policymakers and lawmakers around the world making policy and laws that affect youth. But we want to make sure that the youth voice is included in that dialogue. So if you're interested in applying, we would love to have a representative from the Philadelphia area on our youth council. You can go to Microsoft.com/CDG for Council for Digital Good to apply. And on that, I thank you for having me here today. I hope you have a great Safer Internet Day. Let's make it the best yet.
My mic on? Yeah, there we go. I've asked Jacqueline and Joe to stay for a few minutes to talk in a broader sense about the issue of how can we create a conversation that incorporates the entire family and indeed the entire community. We chose these particular programs because we thought that they are good examples of ways in which people can reach out both in terms of their community and in terms of their family and be challenged for some of the issues that we can speak out about. But of course, one size doesn't fit all. There are many approaches. So I want to talk in just general terms, and I also want to open it up for the audience to get involved in this too. So if you have anything to say, raise your hand. Don't worry, I'll call on you. So why don't we start with you, Joe? Just think through, you've been around for a while. You're one of the people that helped build the internet in a sense. What are some ways in which parents and kids and communities can engage and share what we all know, or what some of us know?
Thanks. I think what you said initially nailed it on the head, which was there are so many different conversations in so many different contexts. The conversation you'll have with your parents are not the same conversations you'll have with your friends or even with your teachers or with people you meet on the street. So just even knowing that you should begin to have that conversation starts with what is your independent thought process, what are your values, and what do you want to stand up for? And when you've got a sense of your privacy and caring about other people's privacy and information, you become that agent for change. And if you can be that dialogue starter that asks those questions, that gets anybody thinking, maybe only 1 out of 5 of your friends changes their behavior for the better, but that's still 1 out of 5 people that wouldn't have done anything at all without you playing that role, leading, getting it started. So knowing in your context, maybe with the family, you're out on a drive somewhere, or it's breakfast on the weekend, and it's just a quick chance to say, hey Dad, hey Mom, I've been thinking about this issue. I would like to have a phone, or my kid sister, my kid brother would like to have a smartphone. Here's what I'm kind of concerned about. Just even broaching those topics at all puts you far ahead of most people out there right now. And again, the people in this room are the best situated to start those conversations.
I want to hear from Jacqueline, but before she speaks, I want everybody to start thinking about comments and questions. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. This is not just adults lecturing to kids. We want to hear what you have to say as well, but definitely one more adult lecturing to kids.
Thanks, Larry. As Joe said, it's about having that conversation. Knowing that you have to have it is the first step. I think importantly, it's about getting proactive as well. I don't want to go negative. Safer Internet Day is all about the positive. But unfortunately, we've learned that what drives people to action is something bad happening to them. Have you been bullied online? Have you had problems with your identity? Have you been spammed? Have you been scammed? There's a whole host of things that could happen. There's a lot of online risks out there. But in order to get ahead of it, we have to get proactive. So we have to just take a few steps. Our challenge today is about digital civility and talking about the behavioral element and the need for more respect online. But there's some baseline things that we all need to do to protect ourselves. You heard some of them from Dr. Haidt earlier. All of the companies here represented presented today have guidance for you to do, whether it be protecting the actual device or protecting some actions that you engage in. But it's about getting proactive and taking that first step. You could just vow to do one thing to better protect yourself. And by better protecting yourself, you're better protecting your immediate community and your circle. And that all of a sudden has that domino kind of trickle effect.
Thank you. And per the questions that Jacqueline asked, and I'm not going to embarrass you by asking if you've been bullied or if you've bullied anybody, but how many people here know of people who have been bullied, know of situations in your school? Yeah, me too. And I was bullied as a kid. Is anybody here comfortable talking about a situation you're aware of? You don't have to be, again, it doesn't have to be you personally, but can I get somebody? Yeah, please. You get her a mic? Somebody run a mic.
Lately, with all the politics that have been going on, the issues with that, I feel like just voicing one's opinion is a situation within its own. Like, people are constantly attacked for voicing what they believe in, whether it be wrong or right. That's just a really big issue in this time, I feel like.
And how do you think people should voice their opinion? I mean, just locally, or should you go on Twitter and say something to the world, or how should you do it?
I mean, not trying to throw shots at the president, but I don't think it's right to tweet every little thought that pops into your brain. There should be some filter, especially when you're an adult running the country. That's not the issue, okay? But I feel like it's of course it's fine to put your opinion wherever you feel like putting it, because that's how you voice your opinion. That's how you introduce your opinion to others. But it's very important that you realize when you speak, you're reaching out to different cultures and backgrounds and perspectives. So you have to have some form of a filter in order to successfully reach everyone without offending anyone. It's hard, but it's something that should be done.
So you're giving advice to everyone in this room, and if the president happens to be listening, thank you so much. Any other thoughts or questions? I'd love to get other people to. Yes, a gentleman back there. Could somebody run him a mic? Thanks. And if you wouldn't mind identifying yourself and introducing yourself.
I have a question for the man in the gray. You continue saying that you helped create the internet. So if you created it in advance and it's been so far into 2017, and you say around this, the stop bullying and everything of that started in 2004, but the internet was created around the 1990 stump. Why didn't you just start helping it back then and take so long to 2004?
I'm going to let you answer, but I want to, first of all, just so you know, the internet was actually created in the 1960s.
And that's even better.
And
I'm not saying nothing. I'm just saying.
And what you're referring to is the commercialization of the internet.
Yes.
It became available in 1994 to all this. And I actually wrote a booklet in 1994 called Child Safety on the Information Highway. So some of us have been working at this for a long, long time. But I'm going to let Joe answer as well.
Thanks. And to be clear, I am a legion of many nerds, men and women who do work that have made the internet what it is today. I did not create it. I did not build it. But yes, we all built it out. And to Larry's point, that was, yes, in the late 60s is when the government started building out the infrastructure. And I will tell you all, we as a nerd army from the past generations, we built an insecure internet because it was never supposed to be secure. It was a way for universities and government researchers to send a whole lot of data back and forth for research. And what most people, and you rightfully see as the birth of the internet, that's pretty much when like AOL got hooked up to what was the internet. And then people all of a sudden had the World Wide Web. And it was this thing called Mosaic, and you could go do things. So along the way, many of us have been building layer after layer of security and layer after layer of privacy, but at its fundamental levels, it was never built to be that way. So think of any project you might do where from the very beginning, if it was never built to be that, trying to turn it into something largely different from what it was at a fundamental level. Does that answer the question?
Yes.
And by the way, when it comes to building the internet, we're here in Philadelphia where the founding fathers sort of built this country, but they didn't finish building it. We're still building it, and we're still building. So you're building the internet as well. Everybody in this room is helping to build the internet. We have a long way to go, a lot more work. Any other comments or questions? Oh, yes. Great.
Thank you. All right, so you stated that we should be able to help our parents because they have not learned and we've lived through this stage of the internet, but there's an old quote that old dogs don't learn new tricks. So what do you think the difficulty level would be for us to actually influence our parents in this way, because we are still considered children, and a lot of times we see adults as someone who doesn't want to follow what we have to say?
Well, you raised a very important issue. As an old dog, I can tell you some of us are able to learn new tricks. I learn them every day from my own kids and others around me. But you just need to have conversations, and maybe you need to be the leader in the family. And one of the things that we emphasize, and again, I would like you to go to Connect Safely and all the other sites to get some of the literature, because much of it emphasizes the importance of conversation. And we always say to parents, don't lecture to your kids, talk to your kids, because you're going to learn something. They're going to learn something too, but so will you. And all I can say is reach out, use whatever tools you have to influence your parents, but they need to pay attention to you just as you need to pay attention to them. Believe me, I can't even begin to tell you how much I learned from my kids and continue to learn from them.
May I add something, Larry? So the internet and technology, it is your wheelhouse as youth. You know so much more than I will ever know, and I've been at Microsoft for 17 years. I'm not a technologist. I'm a lawyer by training, but you know so much more. You've got so much to offer. Your parents don't. But I don't want to disempower the parents and the educators out there. How many do we have? Parents, educators, school officials. You know what these people have? They're raising their hand. They have the wisdom. They've been around the block. They know the risks. They understand the liabilities and what could go wrong. So working together with your technical knowledge as youth and your technical astuteness and adeptness with the technology and our ability of having lived life a little bit, together we can really conquer this thing. And together we can make a big difference. I firmly believe that.
I thank you so much. That's a great point. Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, actually, if I could go back. I'm sorry, your name? First question. Seb, I wanted to get back to your point. Thank you so much, because you talk about, talking about what you believe in and standing up for a principle. While we talk about cyberbullying, there's something that also even 5 years ago wasn't really happening. And now, if you got a Twitter account and you put something out there, there's a chance that a troll army, some of them astroturfing paid shills, people actually paid to just attack people, or bots that are just out there, and then any number of other haters, trolls, whatever. It can be very hard, and suddenly you put out something that should be uplifting, and your mentions are a dumpster fire. So your generation is hitting a level of bullying that no generation on the planet has ever seen, because suddenly literally 10,000 Twitter bots might pick up your handle and just start trashing it. So now more than ever, it is so important to know what you stand for, and to know that standing up for that and putting those thoughts out there matter. And you might face a torrent that nobody has ever had to face before, and that will take a level of courage and coordination and friendship. Know who your support are, and build off of that. It's definitely a hard space.
And I might add, know tools such as how to block people, know how you could unfollow people, and know not to engage these trolls, because it'll only get worse. I don't know if you know what happened to Leslie Jones, the star of Ghostbusters. She was just ridiculed online, and she's a very brave and a noble woman who stood up for herself, but it was a very difficult, and it not only happened to celebrities like her, but it happens to a lot of us. Any other, we have, I think, time for, oh boy. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, I can't call on all of you. Yes, please. Thank you, there's your mic.
Okay, hi. So I was wondering, since I noticed you guys have all these programs for kids and everything, is there anything that you have to offer that can get kids and grown-ups to work together for this? Since we know, you guys are saying we know more of this internet stuff, but grown-ups kind of have the wisdom and more power than kids do, it seems like. So is there anything that can get us to work together on this issue?
Both of your programs.
I think you just heard about the smart SmartTalk.org, Microsoft has something very similar as well. We have a family compact that you can draw up. So I think you could go to any of the websites. You could go to the Connect Safely website. Microsoft is microsoft.com/saferonline, and you'll find a host of materials there. You just need some kind of again, going back to our first topic of conversation, you just need that first conversation starter. And then I think from there, it's really going to happen organically. Don't be locked into, well, we have to follow this program, we have to follow these rules. It's going to work whatever works for you and for your family and your circle. But start with that conversation. Go to these websites to have some tools and other resources at your disposal. But you've got it figured out. Just make that step.
Yeah, definitely. And then also make sure all those programs get the conversation started, but put it in the context that your parents might actually care about. Because when all of you out here, start talking about privacy and security online, you're going to find out that until you find a way to put it in the context that makes the person you're talking to care, it's just like a bunch of adults on stage, and instead of a conversation, it's blah, 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 blah. And you'll see their eyes kind of glaze over, and they go, wait, Mom, Dad, hold on. No, and here's why. Because, little Bob is going to be going to school soon with all these other kids. So that's why I want to have this conversation. Just try to give them a hook on why they care.
If I may add one final, sorry. Is that one working? Yeah. Okay, sorry. If I can add one final thought. What we advise at Microsoft is, again, just to have that conversation. We often encourage parents to sit down with kids and say, take me on a tour of what you're doing online. Show me who you're talking to. Show me what websites you're going to. You're saying, no, I'm not going to do that. But that's a place to start, because the parent will then be able to identify, well, who is this person? Do I know this person? Well, what is that website? What exactly is the purpose of that? So that could be one way. For some people it might work. But just take them on a tour, sit down, and again, I keep coming back to have that conversation.
And then have your parents take you on their tour.
Exactly.
Flip that around.
And in addition to the great resources from Smart Talk and Microsoft, ConnectSafely has a family contract for online safety and mobile use. And one of the points is the parents have to sign a contract saying that they aren't going to freak out the first time they hear about something going bad, and that they are going to be respectful to your use of technology. And then, of course, there are a few things that the contract asks you to agree to as well. So check that out. I want to thank our panel and speakers. It's been great. Thank you so much, Jacqueline and Joe. And thank you all for participation. I wish I could have gotten to all your questions, but plenty more time today for more conversation. So our next presenter is Lynette Owens. I've known Lynette for a number of years. She's been a great friend. And Lynette is the Global Safety Director, Global Director of Internet Safety for Kids and Families at Trend Micro. And Trend Micro is a company that makes great security tools for both mobile and desktop machines. So, Lynette, you're coming up, right? Thank you. Welcome.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Is this on? All right. Hello, Philadelphia. Hello, everyone on the live stream, wherever you are around the country. My name is Lynette Owens. And as Larry said, I run the Internet Safety for Kids and Families program at Trend Micro. I've been doing it for a while. Feels like forever. Not 1996 or 1960s, but my job is to work with communities like this one gathered here today, like many across the United States and around the world. And in the time that I've been doing this since 2008, I've spoken to thousands of students like you, parents like yours, teachers, about what it means to be safe, to be kind, to be productive with the internet and technology. And one of the things to answer someone's question, how do you even get started? I highly recommend you find that one adult. It doesn't have to be your parent. It can be a teacher that you trust, someone in your community, and start the conversation. Because one thing I've learned well, many things I've learned over the years, is that we need to be talking about these things as communities. What you think is privacy is very different from what you think is privacy. What you think is okay to do and say online is very different from what you think is okay to do and say online. We don't have norms yet. And the only way we can get there is to be talking as communities. So if you can start a movement in your school community, ask a teacher or a school administrator, can we have one of these events where everyone's there, students and parents, all of us? Let's have these hard conversations now and keep on talking. That's one thing I've learned over the years. The other thing I've learned is that as much as I love talking about this stuff and teaching what it means to be safe, responsible, productive, and kind online, I think that I have become more of a student than a teacher. And I realized that if I just stopped and asked you, as many before me today have said, we would learn a lot. So today I'm excited to announce, as we do every Safer Internet Day, our annual What's Your Story video contest. Every year we ask a question that's relevant to whatever's going on in the world right now. You answer that, you submit it to us, and then one student and one school could potentially win each $10,000. So this year, our question is, if you could change one thing about the internet, what would you change? If you could change one thing about the internet, what would you change? And the reason we're asking this question this year is something that was alluded to by some of the students earlier. There's lots to love and hate about the internet. We probably can't imagine a day without it. But those differences of what is good and what is bad seem to be a little bit more stark lately. Again, we don't hate the internet. We think it's great. There's much to love, but there's also some issues. And so if there was one thing you could change about the internet, what would you change? If you have an answer, anyone have an answer already? Raise your hands. All right, save it. We'd love for you to enter the contest. Check out whatsyourstory.trendmicro.com. Read the rules, enter by April 11th. And just for a little inspiration, we want to show you some of the winners from our past contests. You could cue the video. Thank you.
Announcing the 2017 What's Your Story video contest. Help make the internet a better place. Upload your story for a chance to win $10,000. Go to whatsyourstory.trendmicro.com for more details. Here are some of our past winners using cinematic mediums to tell their story on making the internet a better place.
And to me, the internet isn't just a place to waste time. It's a place where I can meet new people, a place where I can get inspired. The place where my ideas have no limits or boundaries, and no one criticizes them.
And it wasn't because of the headset. It wasn't even because of the game. It was because I decided that following a crowd that promoted negativity over encouragement was cool. But it wasn't, and it isn't, and it will never be.
Without the internet, I don't think I would have found this battle so easy. Countless people help me personally every single day because of the internet, and for that, I'm grateful. The internet helped me.
Give an immature teenager education and create an adult. Communicate with the bully and observe the opposite result. The internet is a composite, and the parts that are negative are what can truly make it positive.
This is because if we always have our phones in our faces, we will never know what's right in front of us.
And overnight, I became Flame Fart Kid.
Hey, it's Flame Fart Kid.
My name is Alex.
It's Alex.
This is a line, and this line is mine. And now that I've assigned what one might find on either side, you will kindly find that my feet and my spine are on the plus sign. And I'm not moving. Where are you?
Create and upload a 2-minute video on the contest theme and get as many people as possible to see your message. Don't forget, you can increase your chances of winning by promoting your entry through social media. Win great prizes. Help others. Grab a camera and tell us, what's your story?
Thank you, Lynette. I'm honored to be a judge in that contest, and boy, there's some great entries, but I do urge everybody to try to get an entry in there because great prizes and a great program. Our next speaker is Myrna Soto. And Myrna is going to talk about a lot of issues around diversity, but also careers in cybersecurity. And she herself is a representative of somebody who's done a great career in cybersecurity. She's the Corporate Senior Vice President and the Global Chief Information Security Officer at Comcast. In her role, Myrna is responsible for all security and technology risk management for the entire corporation. She's responsible for aligning security initiatives with programs and business objectives to ensure information assets and technologies are adequately protected across the entire corporation. So she is somebody who knows a great deal about how to keep companies and individuals secure, and that's important because not only is security something we all need to think about, but it's one of the most ripe areas for career. So anybody who's thinking about a job might want to think about getting ready to be a security professional, because unfortunately, we're going to need a lot more people than I think are now qualified. Myrna, come on up, and I'd love to hear from you. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I think so.
Maybe now. Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the introduction. I have been standing over to the side, just listening to all of the conversations today, and I have to say how impressed I am by all of the speakers, and even more impressed by each and every one of you in the audience. And those of you that are watching live, thank you for joining us. So as a good corporate professional, I prepared remarks, and then I'm not even going to use them, because I think it's a little bit more intimate and more engaging if I just speak from the heart. But I do want to share a couple of things. So first off, thank you for having me here today. Super excited that this event is happening in Philadelphia. Philadelphia being the city, headquarters city for Comcast. I have the pleasure of working for Comcast. As that fine introduction shared, my responsibilities are that I'm the Global Chief Information Security Officer. That's a big title. It's a big job, but I've got a great team and teams of individuals that help us secure our environments for our customers, for our employees, and for each and every one of you that may be using internet services. We didn't create the internet, but we're certainly facilitating the internet very, very well. So one of the things that I wanted to chat with you all about, previous speakers have talked about social media, thinking about what you do on the internet. I often say that the internet, there's nothing about the internet that's in pencil. It's in pen. It's in permanent Sharpie marker. So there you've gotten a great deal of great advice from the previous speakers regarding thinking about your interactions on the internet, taking the pause before you respond. I think those are excellent pieces of advice. But I've got some other advice I want to share with you all, and it seems to be that every time you turn around, you hear on the news of another company or another individual getting compromised or exploited on the internet. And more often than not, it comes down to a very simple principle, and that is your password. We build tons of technologies to help protect the internet, to protect our users, to see if we have the ability to obfuscate any type of malicious behavior. But it all starts with a very good password. So I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands, but I want you to think about this. How many of you use your birthday as your password? Don't raise your hand. Don't raise your hand. Because then you're giving it up. You're giving it up. Think about the things about you that people can figure out. They can figure out through your social media posts or through your interactions. Be very cautious about what you share, and always think back to your credential. I call them credentials, your password. It's the #1 gateway to exploits. The other thing I wanted to share with you all is if you happen to be a Comcast customer, like many of the other companies that have been here this morning to share with you tools and techniques, Comcast also has an opportunity to share a lot of tools with our high-speed data customers. There are a number of tools that are available for free at no charge for our subscribers to use on your PCs and your devices to protect your internet traffic, to protect how you're interacting. There's even some tips and tools to help with password management. So I would encourage you, this is an opportunity for you to go home and share that with your parents, share that with people that you love, share that with your friends, and see if you can make a difference. We said before, one person at a time can make a huge difference in creating a much safer internet. Last but not least, I want to talk about the job of cybersecurity. I would be remiss if I didn't take a few moments to share with each and every one of you, as was said earlier in the morning, how smart this generation is around technology. You've had the pleasure of growing up in a highly technological world. I'm an old dog, but I still try to learn new tricks. And I learned them from my nieces and my nephews that tell me about the latest and greatest things out on the internet. Of course, what am I doing when I'm learning about them? I'm trying to figure out how we can make them more secure and how we can educate people on how to use them to the best advantageous benefit. So those of you that are on social media, I know you've heard this before, but I've got to say it again. Very important that you realize everything you do, everything you say, and everything you share is not private, and it's permanent. So be very selective about what you want to say, what you want to do, and what you want to share. We, in this country and across the world, have a bit of a crisis, and that is that we don't have enough talented individuals to work in the field of cybersecurity. I stand before you today. I am a Hispanic woman that represents a diversity group. I want more diversity in the area of security. I and the company that I work for is a strong advocate around diversity. I encourage each and every one of you, if you like what you're hearing today, if the subject of security interests you, I encourage you to think about it as a career. Whether it's starting off in a technology career and moving into security or going straight into a security field, there will be tons of opportunity for each and every one of you to make a difference because you've grown up in this era. And no one better than you can tell us what we need to do to change it, to improve it, and it's a great career opportunity. I also wanted to share just a quick comment around what you've done today. I think that you are very, very fortunate to have had the opportunity to be here today to hear from the speakers. I know your day is not over, but I encourage you to reflect and think about everything that you've heard today and understand how it relates to you and your families. Earlier this morning, there was a discussion about having those conversations with your parents. I encourage you to do so. And find other people, other adults, teachers, educators, folks that you can trust to ask the right questions around what you want to do in your careers and, more importantly, on the internet. The internet is a very powerful thing. It's changed our world, was created for one purpose, and it has become such a vital element of our lives. Let's keep it safe, and it starts with each and every one of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Maria. My mic on? Good. Well, I am really, really excited to introduce our next person. I'm not going to call her a speaker, but she will speak, but she's going to do something else. I first met Aisha Fukushima in San Francisco, where she and my son performed in a concert together, and we chatted for a while, and she mentioned that she was from Philadelphia. And I loved her work, and I know you will too, and so I invited her to come join us at this conference. Aisha Fukushima is a singer, speaker, educator, raptivist, rap activist. She founded Raptivism, and a global hip-hop project spanning 10 countries and 4 continents. In fact, I know she just came back from the Middle East very recently. So without further ado, it is my great pleasure to introduce Aisha Fukushima.
Good morning, buenos dias, ni hao ma, konnichiwa, genki desu ka? How's everyone feeling? Yes, okay, yes. Nanga Def, we can keep going with languages. How y'all feeling this morning? Good. That's what I like to hear. So it's such a pleasure to join you this morning and to just start us off, also while we kind of get this tech set up into place. I want to start with a quick call and response because I'm from a hip hop tradition that kind of has a piece of call and response. Y'all down for that? Yeah? Y'all down for that? Yeah. When I say hip, y'all say hop. Hip, hop. Hip. Hop. When I say can't stop, y'all say won't stop. Can't stop? Won't stop. Can't stop? Won't stop. Give it up for yourselves. So beautiful. So thank you so much, Larry, for having me, to Maureen for organizing Safer Internet Day, Connect Safely. It's such a pleasure to be here. And to kick things off, I wanted to add a little bit of music to the flow. Is that cool with you? That's what's up. So this song, I heard one person, no, hopefully this will change your mind. Let's see. This song is called Sweet Sounds, and it's about the power of your voice and of our voices collectively. If the theme for today is about being the change, it's really about embodying that and talking about solidarity and how we reach out to one another. I hope you enjoy it. Feel free to groove with it too. Y'all getting that beat? Yeah. Turn it up a little. Woke up and saw the news today. I grabbed my coffee and I'm on my way. Hey, 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 hey. Brush my teeth and I do my hair. See, my thoughts are everywhere. Today, Gonna start it from the top now. Gonna start it from the top now. Can I have some hand clapping? Woke up and saw the news today. I grabbed my coffee and I'm on my way. Hey, 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 hey. Brush my teeth and I do my hair. See, my thoughts are everywhere. Today, ooh, for some reason, the technology is playing games. So maybe I'll go into spoken word. Maybe that's what's supposed to happen. Are any of you into spoken word? I heard we have some poets in the audience. Are there any folks who are into spoken word? Can I see a show of hands? That's what's up. This poem is called Butterfly. In the land of the free and the home of the... How can this be the land of the free and the home of the brave when so many people live in fear? I captivate, reincarnate with an imagination state of mind. Teacher, I am more than your underestimations combined. Do you mind? I am growing here, cocooned in a cacophony of sounds and silences like ancestors' footsteps at pace with my heart. I am more than those labels make me out to be. I am more than those labels make me out to be. I am human, first and foremost. I said I am human first and foremost, except for when I am a butterfly whose metamorphosis reopens the orifices of our connectivity. We are more protected than we pretend to be. Let these wings make me free as I fly on the winds of change. A new season has come, rearranged. The old one is done, interchanged. And living as a butterfly has taught me one thing, that there is no beginning or ending, only shape-shifting. So let us call this a transformation. Let us call this a reformation. My wing pattern is a blueprint for elevation, and there ain't no stopping this reclamation constructed in a language of sounds and silences that must be read between the lines until we realize that this whole reality is constructed. The education that values one human life over another is corrupted. Migration is a way of life. I said migration is a way of life, and I float by pushing myself up on matter that I cannot see, like dreams shape-shift in a medium of creativity. Sometimes it's hard to be a butterfly when you were built to soar, and some try to colonize the sky. How can we divide the air? Must be hard to breathe if we don't want to share. This is the life of a butterfly, karma and some side of birth and rebirth. I am woman and I know my worth. Monarch but not imperial. I spit philosophies, it ain't ethereal. I keep rising and shining, wondering, can you hear me though? I keep rising and shining, wondering, can you hear me though? So as we float, as we fly, as we flutter, the warmth of prayers that melt like butterflies over aching wounds, erected in remembrance, stand high like pyramid tombs. This is for you, for I believe in youth. Hold your head high as you speak your truths. I said, free your mind, and the rest will follow. Don't have to be colorblind. Let's just not be so shallow. I said, free your mind, and the rest will follow. Don't have to be colorblind. Just don't be so shallow. Thank you. Arigato. Spasiba, Jaiju. So I've just got a few more moments with you all. And my hope is, we've been dancing around a bit. I want to just take a moment to acknowledge the place and the space that we're in. As we reflect on this Safer Internet Day, what it means to have a safer internet, we are amidst also a country that has been embroiled in lots of different social change. And I bring this up also because youth all around the world have been at the forefront of this change, of being the change, in fact. I've seen this living in Senegal, Dakar. This is a 36-hour hip-hop festival that takes place there. Youth make up the majority of the country and the population. They have changed also particularly through hip-hop culture. Some rappers have led movements to change the course of several major elections through the power of their voice. Right? Through the power of them being the change. Taking it even to Senegal, where I traveled with my band, you might be able to find us somewhere in that mass of people, right? Where we performed for thousands of people right after the earthquake. You see, you found it, cool. You see it. So we are performing in front of thousands of people 1 year after the earthquake that had happened there, creating inspiration through the sound of music, through the sound of our voices and coming together. Why do I bring this up on a Safer Internet Day? Because in hip hop, we call this circle. Does anyone know what that's called? Circle of life. I like that. Yeah? It's called a cipher, right? It's a cipher. Has anyone stood in a circle like that and someone's jumped in and danced or gotten down and did their thing? Right, that's called a cipher. That's a symbol for the kind of community that we create, right? And when we talk about the internet, this is one way that we engage. A cipher is a place where we give and exchange energy. So today I want to invite you to think about what is your story and how do you want to bring that into play on the internet? We have so much power in the way that we illustrate our voices and who we are, the multidimensional people we are, as well as the stories that we tell about one another. We've seen that this has ramifications on all different levels of society, but we can start with our individual voices and then collectively. How do we create a more respectful, a more compassionate place on the internet as well as off, right? Because it kind of starts right here, in my humble opinion. Before I conclude, I actually wanted to close out with a little song. Is that cool with y'all? Yeah? To do this song, I need some help from you. And as a lyricist, I saw some poets were in the audience, right? I have a strong belief that when we write, we can write things into existence. I've seen through the power of hip hop, the power of art, that dance floors, for example, in the United States were desegregated before that happened into law. That a lot of art and culture helps pave the way for the kinds of change that we want to see. And that includes the art and culture, the media that we participate in every single day on the internet, right? So what does that change look like? In order to go there, we have to envision that. I want everyone to take a moment. If you're comfortable, can you close your eyes? Take a minute to close your eyes. Take a deep breath in, deep breath out. Now, I want you to imagine, what does a safer internet look like? What does it feel like? What's a quality of a safer internet? Take a minute to think about it. There are no right or wrong answers. The standard is yourself. What does a safer internet look like or feel like? On the count of 3, I'm going to ask you to open your eyes and say it aloud. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Fantastic. Keep those words in mind. So who had a word? Can someone come up and say the word on the microphone, please? Actually, more than someone. Can many people come up and share their word on the microphone? I told you I need you to help me make this song. Yeah, come on up. Don't need to raise your hand, at least in this setting. Can we give it up for Jake? You got a word?
A safe space. A safe space.
Kindness.
A safe space.
Kindness.
A safe space.
Kindness.
A safe space.
Kindness.
A safe space.
This is up to y'all. I heard in that question and answer in that dialogue, folks were like, well, where do our voices fit in? This is your opportunity. What have you got to say? What does the safer internet look like to you? Come on up. Can we give these folks a round of applause who are making their way to the stage? Yeah, come on up.
Kindness.
A safe space.
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 Da 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 da. Da 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 da.
A safe space.
No more labels.
Kindness.
A safe space.
No more labels.
All backgrounds combined.
Kindness.
A safe space.
Freedom.
No more
All
labels.
backgrounds combined.
Collaboration. Kindness.
A safe space.
Freedom.
No more
All
labels.
backgrounds combined.
Collaboration.
A safe space.
Freedom.
No more labels.
All backgrounds combined.
Collaboration.
A safe space.
Freedom.
No more
All
labels.
backgrounds combined.
Collaboration.
A safe space.
Freedom.
No more labels.
All backgrounds combined.
Collaboration.
A safe space.
Freedom.
No more
All
labels.
backgrounds combined.
Collaboration.
A safe space.
Freedom.
No more
All
labels.
backgrounds combined.
Collaboration.
A safe space.
Freedom.
No more
All
labels.
backgrounds combined.
Collaboration.
A safe space.
Freedom.
No more labels.
All backgrounds combined.
Collaboration.
A safe space.
Freedom.
No more
All
labels.
backgrounds combined.
Collaboration.
Give it up for yourselves. Now if everyone can get on their
All
feet.
backgrounds combined.
I need some extra energy from y'all to help me get through the rest of this song. I need to see some folks grooving. Can y'all get up on your feet? If you're feeling it, get up and groove, huh? And I love the way we rock. Every day we making it on and off the clock. And I love the way we rock. Every day we making it on and off the clock. And I love the way we rock. Every day we making it on and off the clock. And I love the way we rock. Every day we making it on and off the clock. On and off the clock. All right. On and off the clock. On and off the clock. And sometimes we feel like slaves, working so hard and we don't get paid like we're supposed to. People say I owe you, but they ain't so loyal. Can't you tell I'm a queen? I'm so royally pissed when you dissing this. I thought we hissy fit. Are you feeling this? Cause I'm killing this. Resurrected so you know who you're dealing with. We be the people and we be resilient. Hey, punching another day. Wake up now cause it's time to celebrate. We be the people through the track elevated. Don't don't know who we be, cause too often underrated. If you got excuses, please just save it. If you got games, please know that I played it. Making the music so society can face it. I spit for freedom so you can taste it. And I love the way we rock. Every day we making it on and off the clock. And I love the way we rock. Every day we making it on and off the clock. And I love the way we rock. Every day we making it on and off the clock. And I love the way we rock. Every day we making it on and off the clock. 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 Let me take my lunch break. Can't you see I'm heavyweight? Everyone want piece of cake. It's a game of give and take. Are you really real or fake? Some people just love to hate. Some work hard, some delegate. Turn on us, big mistake. Stand out or assimilate. This a girl who love to say Puget Sound to the Bay. People here be making weight, working hard like every day. Have no break, go irate. I'm on time. Woo! Save the internet. Save the internet. Save the internet. And I love the way we rock. Every day we making it on and off the clock. And I love the way we rock. Every day we making it on and off the clock. On and off the clock. All right. On and off the clock. On and off the clock. The cloud. Whoa, 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 whoa. The cloud. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Thank you all so much. Can you give yourselves a round of applause? It's been such a pleasure. Give yourselves another round of applause. Thank you so much. My name is Aisha Fukushima. I wish we had more time to dialogue. Please visit my table outside and I would love to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aisha. And you know what's cool? The technology failed, but the human energy succeeded big time. So that's what matters. And it's a great lesson about technology. People are much more important than iPhones. So we have another treat. So in a few minutes, you're going to gather in smaller groups, and you're going to be talking about what the signers of the Constitution had to say about some of the big issues that we deal with online, some of the things that we're struggling with, like privacy, personal responsibility, freedom of expression. And you're going to talk about what George Washington and Alexander Hamilton and some of the other founders have said. But there's one founder, one signer of the Constitution, one great father of our country who you're not going to have to talk about, because it turns out we have him right here. Where's our special guest? There he is. Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from across the street where he was buried, we brought out Benjamin Franklin. Ben, thank you so much. You know, you look a lot younger than I thought you. How old actually are you?
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure what you mean by buried, Larry.
I thought you were buried across the street.
Oh, no. I will be buried across the street. Yeah, yes, they just have to have these things ready. Okay. And as far as how old I am, well, if I use the calendar that you might be using, I would be, just this past month, 311 years old. But that's ridiculous, isn't it? Yes, I don't use that calendar anymore. I prefer to stay in 1787 or so. That's old enough for me. That's the year we signed the Constitution that this building is named after. And I'm happy to be here. Well, I'm happy to be here, but I'm not sure that I'm happy that I have to follow this person that you just had. Is that woman amazing? Yes. Now, I have studied nature in many ways. I have studied forces of nature, particularly electricity, but I don't think I've ever encountered a force of nature like Aisha. Let's give her another hand. Yes. Well, you might be wondering, you're an intelligent audience, I can tell, so you might be wondering wait a minute, what is Benjamin Franklin doing here in a conference on internet safety? I was wondering the same thing myself, actually. I mean, first thing I had to do was ask, what's the internet? It's not something we had in my day. Well, they explained it to me, and I said, oh, all right, I can talk about that for a few reasons. Number one, as far as I understand, you can't do this without electricity, and I know a little bit about electricity. I basically founded the science of electricity, and I invented the battery, among other things. I discovered how electricity worked. Now, I didn't discover electricity. That was probably the first person to get struck by lightning. But I did discover how electricity worked. It made me the most famous American in the world. So I know a little bit about electricity, but I also know a little bit about the spread of information, which is what the internet is all about. I was a publisher and printer for over 30 years. I started working on a newspaper when I was 12 years old. When my brother went to jail, the publisher of the newspaper, went to jail for criticizing the royal governor of Massachusetts, I published the paper at the age of 16. Of course, then we had some problems and I ran away and ended up here in Philadelphia. But I just want to say just a few words about the responsibility that you have. I said I was a publisher. How many of you have ever posted anything on Facebook? Just raise your hand. How many of you have ever done this thing called tweeting? I think I know what that is. Yes. Well, you may not know it, but you are publishers. Every time you do that, you're publishers. Now, as a publisher, I soon learned that there's a great power in spreading the printed word. But I also discovered that there's a great responsibility in spreading that word. As a publisher, I knew that I couldn't just say anything about somebody that I wanted to, because first of all, I could be sued if I said something nasty about them. So I learned that it's important to know where this information is coming from, and to find out if it's true before I say anything about it. I also found out that if I said nasty things about other people, I could harm them. I could destroy their reputations. And so I wanted to make sure that I said things, that I published things that were true. Now, you've been through, I doubt that most of you in this room actually vote yet, but this country has been through, I keep reading about this past election, and a lot of nasty things were said on the internet about both candidates, sometimes by the candidates themselves and sometimes by other people. And some real nastiness has gone on. Now, I've had someone said to me, Dr. Franklin, you should be glad you're not working in this time, because these elections were very nasty, and I just have to let you know that it's not anything new. In my time, the elections were nasty too. A couple of hundred years ago, two of my very good friends ran against each other for president, two great men, Thomas Jefferson and John Adams. Well, you wouldn't know they were great men when you saw all the things that were published about them when they were running for office. People said on one side, Thomas Jefferson is an atheist, he's got a terrible personal life, he should not be president. People said on the other side, John Adams he wants to go back to being under the King of England. He's going to send one of his sons over to England to marry the daughter of King George III, and then we'd all be British again. These were ridiculous things, but sometimes people believed them. Fortunately, not too many people believed them. So you have to be careful about what you publish and what you say. So I just have, I'm not going to speak long. I have 4 rules that occur to me when I hear about this thing called the internet. Number one rule is be smart. Now, you all look smart to me, but be smart. As I said, know where your information's coming from. Know the consequences of what you say. Number 2 is be safe. When you talk to someone out there in the ether, quite often you don't know who they are. You don't know where they are. And so don't say you're going to go meet with somebody that you don't know in an unsafe place. Don't send anybody any money, believe me. All right. But also be kind. There are so many people who have their lives ruined by things that people publish about them, and it's so much easier to publish those things in your time. There are people, even especially if it's not true, but even if it's true, sometimes things don't need to be said. There are people who've had their reputations destroyed. There are people who've killed themselves because of what their peers have published about them on the internet. They were so humiliated. Another thing now, you might think that I covered it when I said be smart, but don't be stupid. Don't be stupid. You do not have to tell the world every single thing you are doing. And sometimes what you say about yourself and what you've done comes back to bite you. So be careful. The internet is a wonderful thing from what I hear. In my day, if you wanted to send information to somebody in London, for example, it would take at least a month to get there. And if you wanted an answer, it would take at least a month to get back. Now you can do that instantly. If you wanted to talk to someone, you couldn't do it. So information is a wonderful thing, but remember the downside as well. So again, be smart, be safe, be kind, don't be stupid. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, thank you. Well, I want to remind you that the video from today's program will be archived at saferinternetday.org, .us, excuse me. And it might take a while for it to come up, but in about a week, everything that was presented, including Aisha's rap, including Ben, including the panels, will all be at saferinternetday.us as an archive, so you'll be able to watch it later. Come on up, panel. It's... Okay. It's now my great pleasure to introduce the Youth and Tech Industry Issues and Perspective panel. And what's great about this panel, we've done this before, is we have leaders from the technology industry and also student leaders talking about some of the issues that we all deal with. And the one thing I say to the student leaders is don't hold back. If you have anything you want to say, I'm not sure that we can get tech support here, maybe, but we definitely can get dealing with any of the issues, so say what's on your minds. And our speakers in this panel, first of all, our moderator has shifted. Unfortunately, the original moderator had a family emergency, but we are very, very honored to have Michael Kaiser, who's the head of the National Cybersecurity Alliance, a great organization in Washington. He works with very carefully. They do a Cybersecurity Month and Data Privacy Day, and we're grateful to have Michael here. Our speakers include Jeff Collins, who's with After School. Anybody here know the After School app? It's an app that's very popular among high school students around the country. You see some people use it. Great. We also have Antigone Davis. Anybody here ever heard of Facebook? It's a small company. It's a small company, yeah. And she's with Facebook. Also, Instagram is part of Facebook, and I know many of you are on Instagram as well. We also have another small company called Google. And I'm sure many of you heard about Google. If not, you can search for it. Just Google it. You'll learn all about it. And we also have Andrea Doucette, who's with a student at the College of Morris. We have Will Jones, a student at Link High School. I see you have a lot of friends here. And we have Camille Jones, two Joneses, a student at Science Leadership Academy. So, Michael, it's all yours. Try to 12:35, 12:05, 12:05. Okay.
Great. Good morning, everybody. And Larry, you didn't tell me that I could not hold back. You told me I had to hold back. Okay. All right. Oh, good. All right. Good. So I'm really excited to fill in and moderate this panel. This is a real opportunity to have a conversation. A lot of this morning we talked about having the conversation between adults and kids around internet safety. So I think we need to model a little bit here, and we need to have a conversation. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to start, though. We have a really great panel. We have a lot of people. I'm going to start asking, our students here, really, why is the internet so valuable to you? What do you do online? What does the internet bring into your life that brings any kind of value to your lives? And you can just go in any order you want. I'm going to start with, we'll ask the adults that question too. We'll give you a little extra time to think about it, but let's start, with Andrea over here.
Hello, I'm Andrea. I think the internet is important in many aspects. It's a means of communication, a means of expressing yourself. It's really a part of every single part of our life, and it's just an outlet for us to just express who we are. And
But what about for you personally? What do you do most on the internet?
well, I am the president of the computer science club at my school and the vice president of the cybersecurity club. So I do use social media a lot to post events that we're having around campus, to gain more students to come to our clubs. Even for my personal use, I'm on Instagram, Snapchat. Even my little sister and brother are on there too. So means of talking to friends, family, everywhere, schoolwork. It's every aspect of my life.
And Will?
I mostly just play games online.
But okay, that's good. Look, this is important. This shows that there's a lot of diversity in what we do. And why is that? Why is playing games on it important to you? What do you get out of that?
I either play with some of my friends I used to know.
So you connect with other people?
Yeah. Kind of. I mean, I don't really talk to many people on there, but people I do know I talk to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And Camille?
I would say I mostly use the internet for school, but I also use the internet for like Instagram and Snapchat and Twitter, like all the social media stuff. And then I also internship in the marketing department, so I do a lot of marketing stuff and posting pictures and social media stuff for that. So that's fun.
So, but why is it important to you? That's the key question I want to know. What's so important to you about the internet?
Well, for me, the internet is really important because it's a means of communicating with everyone. Most people nowadays are on the internet, and that's the best way that you can communicate with people. It's also just a really fun way to do things.
Great. Let's go to why is it valuable to you? What's important? What do you do online?
I personally use it in all parts of my life. So I would say, in addition to communicating with friends and family on Facebook and Instagram and other services, I also use it for shopping, buying stuff for my kids. And that gets into our later discussion. Having 2 kids, part of what I do is monitor them and talk to them about what they do. But it's integral to my life. And then, of course, in my job, which we'll get into later, I think about how teens and high school students in particular use it. So it's great to hear all the perspectives here, because that's what we draw from in building the features for our app, the after-school app.
So I'll answer on the work side, and then I'll answer on the personal side. I think actually what I find most amazing about the work that I do and what I see on Facebook is the ways in which people connect on Facebook and actually share and take care of each other. So I don't know how many of you know about some of the things, like we have something called Amber Alert. That is something that we did in partnership with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. There's someone who's from there. And one of the way in which we developed that program was that we saw people sharing Amber Alert photos on Facebook and thought, what can we do to actually make that better so that we could get those photos to the people most close in the vicinity of where that child went missing. And that's something that our community, the people who are using Facebook, kids on Facebook, adults on Facebook, showed us about the value of Facebook, and there are many other stories like that. So I think that's what's most interesting to me about the ways in which people use social media. In terms of my own personal use of social media, I think for me, I grew up when, I got my first computer in college, so I'm old. And I think one of the things that it's done for me is actually given me the opportunity to reconnect with people that I knew when I was much younger, that I would have otherwise completely lost contact with.
I'll go last. So I also play games, to be honest, which is one of the best parts, of course. But professionally at Google, we try to get you the answers that you need as quickly as possible. We don't want to waste your time. And this goes all the way to learning how to make a cookie recipe to how to avoid, potentially problematic situations. So if you want to inflict harm upon yourself, we actually have a lot of services that are immediately available to you as soon as you search for them. We have partnerships with things just like Amber Alert, like Antigone said, and things like that as well, where there's no limit to how much we can support you. So please come talk to me afterwards if you have any questions about that side. Personally, I use the internet to learn as many new skills as possible. So trying to get into learning more about how we're going to go to Mars, how we're going to improve the planet, all kinds of things. So I'm basically trying to be a sponge, and Google is my main conduit there.
Great. So, today's theme, there's be the change, make a better internet. We've talked a little bit about be the change. I think Aisha did a great job of sort of rousing people up to sort of be the change. But I want to ask you all, but we'll start again. We'll start with our students first. What would a better internet look like? What would make it better than it is now? I mean, if it was in the ideal world, the perfect internet, what would it be? You can go in any order. You don't have to stay in the same order.
I mean, there's so many things, but I think security is a huge one.
Okay.
I know I'm on the Cyber Centurions competition team at my college, and we practice configuring and securing servers and everything, and I've come to realize that the internet it stores everything about you, every little piece of data that you are transmitting over a network. It's who you are, and it defines who you are, and it's really important to be aware of that.
I would say the same. Security is definitely something that would make the internet 100% better. But I also think being able to we see what people say. There's trolls on the internet all the time. But if there was a way that we didn't see those things, if we didn't see the negative comments that people said, that would be the perfect internet for me.
I don't really know how the internet could be safer or better, but maybe if, like he said, maybe if there weren't comments, or maybe if you couldn't really comment on what you think, because most people are just going to be, a jerk about it and just say, oh, that's stupid, that's dumb. And, I might do that sometimes, but that's the nature of people. That's just what we do. There's no really way that we can change it, so I guess we just gotta accept it. But you could try to change it, who knows?
Thoughts about how we make a better internet?
I would say that there's been a lot of talk about change. That's the theme here today. I think we can improve by getting more insight from young people like you. So our company was built by talking to high school students and asking them what did they want that they didn't have. So we built this social network where you can communicate with other kids in your high school. And we're trying to give kids new ways to meet people, to do activities, and to do it in a safe way. So I think there are some ways that we're already addressing some of what you're doing, and I love this input. So what we do is we allow the students who use after school to take down comments if they think they're negative or they're bullying, and they immediately come down, and then we review them. So we're essentially empowering the students to curate the network. Another thing we're doing, and this touches on the Amber Alert, and I think we're all doing this, we're using technology to detect when young people might be having a crisis or a difficult situation, and then we help connect them to crisis counselors, helping to save lives with groups like Crisis Text Line. And this is something that's really powerful, where we can help prevent problems before they happen. But just to end, I would say, we talk to high school students all the time. We have high school interns. So although I'm not comfortable in a suit up here, I'm comfortable around you guys because that's what we deal with all the time. And so more input from you, and I think it's very important that you give input to your parents, to your teachers, to companies like ours, so that we can work with you to use your insight, because you're ahead of us in so many things, but use your insight to make things better, more positive, safer, and to help us achieve positive social change.
Yeah, and in order to make the internet better, I mean, the internet is just a reflection of humanity, right? And it's filled with problems, it's filled with solutions. The internet belongs to you, especially, the next generation of users currently using it all the time. It's part of your life. If you see a problem, develop a solution for it. Don't rely on a large company, even though I'm speaking on behalf of Google, don't rely on us to solve the problem. We want to work with you to make that happen, but you are just as empowered to create a startup, become the next Mark Zuckerberg, whatever it takes. So this is, a great moment and a great time for this country to start discussing digital security. Use this as an opportunity for yourself to sort of get a little bit more involved.
You have anything you want to add? Or?
Well, I think most people have covered most of the topics. The one thing I would say is that, at Facebook we say our mission is to make the world more open and connected and give people the power to share. And I think that seeing that power and those connections rise to the top, and the positive aspects of those rise to the top. So even if it's I don't know, what schools are in the house today? Name a school. Okay, so and there's some that are from inside the city and some that are from some of the suburbs, yeah? So even if two of these schools decide to connect and share experiences across those different communities and find where you guys are similar, where you guys are different, etc., those kinds of connections, I think, are really what the key power of social media in particular offers. It really is an opportunity to come to know the world in a way in which we might not otherwise get to know it.
So, Jeff, you raised that the internet is a reflection of humanity, and I think it was, I think you raised that. What?
Will raised it also.
Well, yeah, right. Both. I was going to say both people raised. Well, you raised it as a reflection of humanity, and you raised that that people, were just behaving like they do in the rest of the world. But do you think that a better internet involves would include rising to how do I say this in the right way? Sometimes the reflection of humanity sometimes focuses more on the negative than the positive, and sometimes people on the internet, feel, more reactive. Is there a way to make the internet more reflective of the positive of humanity as opposed to just all of humanity? I mean, is there any hope for that? Maybe I should ask that question, not how to do it directly, because maybe no one knows the answer, but is there hope that we could achieve that in some way?
I have a story. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say there's always hope for that because the internet is a way to reach out to other communities. You can learn so much from other from different cultures, just from being on this side of the world. Mm-hmm. You can see other cultures on the other side of the world. You may not be there, but you can learn something from it. And I think it's important that what we get on the internet, we take for ourselves, and we use that in our own lives.
So I just have a singular story, but I think it's exemplary of the ways in which you can use the internet, social media to affect positive change. So there is, and Larry, you're intimately familiar with this story, but there was a high school student by the name of Daniel Cui who went to high school outside of where our headquarters are in Menlo Park in Palo Alto. And he played on the soccer team. And at a key game near the end of the year, he was the goalie, and the ball went past him. The team lost. There were a number of kids in the school, unfortunately, who started posting photos of every single time he had let a goal go through, and started basically bullying him and mocking him. And what happened was another group of kids in the school, including some of his teammates, all took his profile picture and made it their own. And as each kid did that, more and more kids throughout the school did it. And eventually shut down the negative comments and really turned what could have been a negative moment of bullying into a positive moment of community. So I think those are the things that we all should be thinking about. How can we do that in our own communities?
And I just want to add to that it's true that it's a reflection of humanity and there will always be some negative things, but I think the real hope, and again, I don't want to sound repetitive or naive, but I think it's in young people, because it's just a fact that your generation is more diverse, more tolerant, more open, more socially progressive than any other generation that we've seen ever. And we see this all the time on our app, that if someone comes out or if someone expresses a problem and we allow them to do it anonymously, that in almost every case, people support them and try to help them. And the other thing I would add that I think is really important is, we've touched on this, is social change. People have touched around the issue of politics. Right now, we're working with a group called Countable, this civic tech group, to allow teens to send messages to President Trump. And we're seeing them all across the spectrum, but we've seen a huge response. So these are written or video messages, and we're sending them with Countable to the White House. And this is something you couldn't do before. So if we want to improve the internet, digital citizenship, and everything around you, I think it's more involvement by young people.
So, that raises, I mean, I'd like to hear this from everyone, but you raised an interesting point here, like that people are, what are the really strong ways? I mean, Antigone, you raised a way of sort of this community wrapping around this, the goalie of the school and, supporting him. Other great examples of the way maybe young people you've seen, this kind of peer-to-peer support on the internet. I know we did a study earlier this year with Microsoft, which showed that like 40% of young people would first turn to their friends for help with a problem online before they turn to somebody else. Like, what's your advice for helping people, do the kinds of things that Jeff was talking about or Antigone was talking about to support, and adults too, if you have ideas, examples of how people have been really supportive of people online in a positive way? Yeah, go ahead.
About a year ago, there was some bullying going on the internet at my school. And it was like there was a whole bunch of people involved. They put a whole bunch of people on social media. And someone in turn decided to make a page and started saying positive things about people on this page. So that was like something that they still don't know who did it. We don't know who made this page, but it was amazing. And it just was a positive thing.
Great.
I know the website Quora. Is anyone familiar with that website? I know I go on there and I look at things that people post and ask questions related to computer science and whatnot. But even people will ask whether it's personal, professional advice, and some responses, there'll be hundreds of different things. And I think that's awesome that people from all around America are able to contribute to that person's question. And I think that mean of communication is just tremendous that, the generation before us didn't have that. And I think that's a big part of our generation today,
So Larry, should we see if we have any questions from the audience? We only have about 5 minutes left. Do we have any questions from the audience for this? What? Or comments? We have one right here. Right here. Just hold on, the microphone's coming. Unless you can speak loudly. But it's important to use the microphone. Say your name and where you're from, too, so we know, if you want to.
My name is Darius, and my question was, you spoke on how, when we post things anonymously, we tend to be more open and accepting. However, I myself didn't experience a different thing, but I seen, I witnessed an app called Whisper. I was on there for a moment in time, and I assumed that there would be a lot more positivity for people because there was no face. But what I come to find out is that since there's no face, there's really no remorse because they don't have to think about that other person on the other side of the screen. Whereas if you go on Facebook, you'll see their face staring right back at you while you're typing your message about involving negativity.
I mean, it is a big problem, and in those cases, I think even if you're anonymous, you still can make an impact, and you can still stand up for what you think is right. You know, it's going to happen. It's reality, but as long as you're doing the right things, and you know.
So there are, I think, instances in which anonymity can provide tremendous protection for individuals. On Facebook, we require you to use your authentic identity, because we have found that on our platform, people come to share sort of their most important moments, and they are sharing with their authentic identity. And when they're not, we find that with fake accounts, we have about 8 times more increased likelihood that people will do something like bully or violate our policies. So we've chosen to create an authentic identity platform. But there are places where people go to communicate with some anonymity that may be very important for their security outside of Facebook.
I feel like the anonymity part is mostly what's wrong with it. It's like you can say save somebody almost gets in an accident in a car. They'll yell and scream at this person, but they won't roll down the window. They won't open the door and yell at them. It's that when they don't know that it's you, you can say and do whatever you want because there's no repercussions. There's nothing to be afraid of.
Well, that's why we use authentic identity.
Yeah, I know I'm just saying.
So I would say that so we allow anonymity because there are a lot of situations where young people otherwise wouldn't discuss things. So in a lot of the internet, everyone wants to have this perfect identity and appear popular, but there are situations. It could be someone's depressed, someone has a relationship issue, someone wants to talk about coming out, and they would never do it anywhere else. They wouldn't talk to their family about it, and this gives them a chance to do it. And as I said, we see a lot of support around them. And if there is any bullying, we work hard to prevent that. So we automatically take it off, we ban people. So it's in a sense curated. But yeah, I think with any social media, anonymity or not, as we talked about, in the real world, online, there are going to be challenges. So we work to keep out the bad stuff, but to use it for positive things like catching mental health problems or letting people give others virtual high fives in even an anonymous way. And that's something that helps kids connect when they otherwise might fear talking to someone like the popular kid, but they can do it if they're anonymous. So that's the positive part of it, but you're right, we do have to be vigilant and work to teach kids and to learn from them to make sure people are more positive and not using anonymity as a negative thing.
Yeah. And I just have a really quick 10-second story because I know we're tight on time. So I was just chatting with the head of a school up in New England where they were having a similar issue with anonymous chat apps, and the head of school was just not sure how to handle it, like what to do about it, because it was just a nonstop flow of vitriol and really bad stuff. So at one point during a assembly that they normally talk about something completely different, he just lifted his head up and said the name of the app. I'm not going to mention it here, but the students were shocked to know that not only was the administration aware of this situation, but actually monitoring it. And that's when they, instead of just tried to make a rule like, don't use this, because that's just not going to work, they actually said, would you like more responsibility online, more tools, more investment, more ability, or would you like less? Because if you keep going down the route of just bullying each other, we're going to spend all of our time trying to focus on making things more difficult for you. But if we were actually going to not focus on bullying so much and instead focus on making a startup or coming up with a good solution, we're going to find ways to throw resources at this and make your lives even better. So again, like, the ball is in your court, and I guess that's our time.
Can I ask one more quick question, a quick hit ending for all of you? Just, if you can, as quickly as possible, if you were to look in the future, how would we know that we have a better internet than we have today? If you can do it in less than 5 words, that would be great. How would we know we have a better internet in 5 years?
5 words?
5 words or less.
I don't think we would. No, that was 6.
That's fine. We're not going to hold you to it. That was a good try, though.
Like Dr. Hayes said, when we put context to information.
Other thoughts? Better internet?
I think more respect and more acceptance of others.
No one gets bullied again.
I would say a more inclusive, respectful, tolerant society.
The world's more open and connected.
The world's more. Wow, fantastic. Now we have something to aim for. Thank you. Let's give this panel a big hand. They were fantastic.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you for our panelists. I thought it was a great job. Thanks also to the audience. Well, now we get a lunch break. So the lunch is right outside, and enjoy. And there's Ben Franklin. You might be able to say hello to Ben on the way to lunch. And by the way, this is the end of the live stream. So those of you who are watching on television, on live stream, thank you very much. We appreciate your tuning in. And this program will be archived at saferinternetday.us probably in about a week or so. So thank you very much, those around the country. And I wish you could join us for lunch, but I hope you enjoy your own lunch or dinner or breakfast, whatever time it is. Thanks again.